Am I the idiot for cutting out my child's inheritance? Backstory. 2 years ago I, female 46, lost my husband in an accident and I was heartbroken. We had 3 children and I thought we were very happy until his mistress showed up at my door demanding money to support the child my husband fathered. I didn't believe her, but she was able to prove it with screenshots, messages, etc. The image that I had of my husband was forever tainted and he left me with the mess. Because of bitterness about the betrayal and how offended I was by the mistress's lack of remorse and entitlement, I told she wasn't getting a dime and that she shouldn't have slept with a married man. She kept harassing me, and when it wasn't going to work she went to my husband's family to put pressure on me to give her what she wanted. She even tried to involve my children, leveraging her silence for money. I knew that once I gave her money she would come back, so I told them myself. My husband and I had high-paying jobs, lucrative investments, savings, and I got a sizable amount from the life insurance policy. I consulted a lawyer, and while she could prove the affair, it didn't prove paternity, and since my husband wasn't on the birth certificate nor could she produce that my husband acknowledged the child, she had no case. After my lawyers sent her a strongly worded letter, I didn't hear from her for a while, and thought it was over until my oldest Alex, female 19, came to me and said that she did a DNA test with the mistress behind my back. She said that did it because she wanted to get this resolved. The child deserved to know who their father was and get the financial support that they were owed. My husband had a will that stated each of his children were to split an inheritance that they would only access to when they went to college and couldn't get full control until the age of 25. When the results came back proving that my husband was indeed the father, the mistress took me to court. It was a long legal battle, but eventually a settlement was made. I sat Alex down and explained to her that her inheritance would be split 50/50 between them and her half-sibling as part of the settlement agreement. When she asked if my other children had to split theirs, I told Alex no. My husband's will stated that it had to be split, but it didn't say it had to be equally, and until each of the children turned 25, I had full control. Alex was upset, saying that it wasn't fair. I countered saying that it wasn't fair that my other 2 children had to get a lesser share because of my oldest choices, and if they wanted their full share they shouldn't have done the DNA test. There's still plenty of money for Alex to finish college. She just won't have much after that, and I do plan on dividing my own estate equally in my own will. All of this Alex knows, but they are still giving me the cold shoulder. My own siblings think that it wasn't fair and I'm punishing Alex for doing right by her half-sibling, but I don't see that way. Am I the idiot? Update. Thank you to everyone's responses, even the ones calling my YTA. But based on a few frequent questions, comments, or themes, I feel like I need to clarify some things. 1. Alex is my daughter, not my son. When I first started writing this, I wanted to leave gender out of it in case it influenced people's judgment, but then I remembered that Reddit tends to prefer that age and gender get mentioned, so I added female 19 at the last minute. Hope that clears it up a little. 2. My other 2 children are Junior, male 17, and Sam, 14F. The half-sibling is now 5. 3. When my husband drafted the will, 10 years ago, he initially named just our children, but a friend of ours had an oops baby, so he changed it to just his children in case we had another one. At least that's what he told me. 4. After the mistress threatened to tell my children, I decided to tell them. I sat them all down and explained the situation. They were understandably devastated and asked if they really had another sibling. I told them that I didn't know and that if the mistress could prove it she might get some money. I told them that if they wanted to know if they had a sibling or not we could find out, but I made sure that they understood that their inheritance could be affected, and other people might come out claiming the same thing and get more money. Initially all of my children said that they didn't want to have to deal with that, and so I did everything that I could to protect them, but I guess Alex had a change of heart. 5. Until the DNA test I had no reason to believe that my husband's mistress was telling the truth and acted accordingly. I kept following my lawyer's advice, and if she wanted the money the burden of proof was on her. 6. While some of you might think I top, please understand that my decision wasn't spiteful. If I really wanted to punish Alex, I would just tell them they weren't getting any more money since they already used some of it for their first year of college, so the guidelines of the will were technically already met. I still plan on leaving them an equal share of inheritance from my estate too. Update. Thank you so much for so many responses, even the ones who didn't 100% agree with me, because it did give me perspective. I also wanted to give an update and answer some questions to anyone who was curious, so here it goes. Since I told Alex what would be happening, she told her siblings, and the house has been pretty tense. To try and make peace, I spoke to each of them for a one-on-one and as a group to figure out what to do next. I spoke to Alex first, and some interesting information was revealed that I'm very angry about. Apparently the mistress created a fake profile account and manipulated my daughter into befriending her. After gaining my daughter's trust, she pretended that she was in a similar situation as her and said that a DNA test proved that there wasn't any paternity. When Alex went behind our back, she thought that it would prove the mistress was trying to scam us. My son, Junior, 17 meters, is furious that Alex went behind our backs and doesn't care why she did it and blames her for them being stuck with a half-sibling he doesn't want. My daughter Sam, female 14, said she wishes she never knew the truth and is deeply upset. I asked my children that since they now know the truth, would they want a relationship with their half-sibling. Junior clearly wants nothing to do with the child and says that Alex should feel lucky he still considers her a sister. Sam says she doesn't want to, and I feel it's because she's in denial and wants to live life pretending that her father was perfect. Alex admits that she is curious but never wants to see or hear from the mistress ever again, so she doesn't think a meeting will ever be possible. I proposed family therapy, and while my girls are open to it, my son says that therapy is only for people who have something broken in them and that he's not broken. He is now happy that his father is dead and wants to change his last name as soon as he turns 18. I'm not going to force him, but I do hope he changes his mind one day. Edit. For clarification, because I keep seeing this. Before I made my first post, before I told Alex what was going to happen with her share of the trust, the settlement was already finalized, so there is no still cutting because it's already done. Technically, I could go back and renegotiate the terms of the settlement, but the mistress could try to come back for more money. Initially, she wanted the entire life insurance policy, 50% of the trust for just her child and 50% of my husband's savings. Her argument was that since I was still working and had a high-paying job, my children and I didn't need the money and she was a struggling single mother. I'm honestly getting exhausted with everything to deal with that woman anymore and don't want to spend more on legal fees. Edit 2. I have not now nor have I ever blamed Alex for her father cheating on me. That is ridiculous and I don't know how people are coming to that conclusion, especially when I never said that it was her fault. Edit 3. I've come to the realization that some people believe that Alex is getting absolutely nothing, which isn't true. There's still plenty of money from the trust for her to finish college. She lives at home rent-free. I pay all of her bills, give her an allowance, allow her to use a car that's in my name, and she will get an equal share of my estate when I pass on. Not the idiot. Personally, I wouldn't hand a single penny over to the mistress. What she expect was gonna happen when she knowingly messed with a married man. Her and your husband are the biggest odds of this story. I don't mean to be rude, but your daughter isn't off for going behind your back about it. I get that the mistress had a hand in it, but it still does not excuse the fact she betrayed y'all's trust. I hope everything works out for you and your kiddos. Everyone sucks here. Your husband made a decision to cheat and not use protection. This resulted in a child. He had a legal financial responsibility to that child. This is true regardless of the actions of your daughter. Yes, your 3 would have gotten more money if she had not have got the test regardless of the manipulation. This does not mean the child of the affair did not have the legal right to support from their father's estate. Your husband acted like an idiot. His mistress acted like an idiot. Your daughter is a child. Her actions, manipulation or not, resulted in the truth coming out and a just result, but the way you are treating her makes you the idiot. You're punishing her because her father is dead. If he wasn't, he would have been legally required to support his affair child. That money would leave less to go around for his other kids. It's not her fault her dad cheated. It's not her fault he's dead, and it's not her fault she as a child was manipulated. I get wanting to look out for your own, but that ship has sailed. Do better by your daughter. Should she have to pay off the mistress? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for giving away money set aside for my education to my stepsister? My mom passed away when I was 5 years old. She had willed that a certain amount of money be set aside for my education. It is a good chunk of change. The thing is though, when I did go to college, I got a full ride scholarship. I really don't need that money. I am doing a great course from a good college and I have an offer in hand. Honestly, I am not very driven by monetary things, so I don't think I will miss the money anyway. My sister is still in high school. She is doing well, but I don't think she is going to get scholarships. She is planning on going to community college and then transferring into a good school. The problem is that even if she does that, she will have to take on debt. My parents can't really afford to pay for college. The pandemic has set them back. I texted her that when she was going to college, I had some money and I would cover some of her money. She was really grateful and we talked after that, and she was really excited at the prospect of applying for her dream college. The trouble started when she talked to our parents and they found out it was mom's money that I was giving her. They don't want me to give the money away. They are arguing that the money was meant for me and giving it away would be against her wishes. Dad is furious at me and mom is also reluctant and wants me to not do this. I think, for them it feels like betraying mom's memory. They both used to be really close to her before her death. My sister understands their perspective and I think she feels hurt. I got her hopes up and my parents are crushing her hope. I honestly don't get it, but they are making me second guess this. I really don't want to go against my mom's wishes, and at the same time. Update. I would like to thank all the commenters for knocking some sense into me. I talked to my sister about it and told her that I will be here to pay for college, but with my own money and not my mother's money. I am planning to set it to start a business or whatever else I may need money for. I really don't know, and it was wiser to save the money and use my income to help when I had a better understanding of adult finances. I finally got a chance to talk to my parents and I was able to convince them of this plan. They seemed much less concerned about this plan, but I still had to convince them about my financial well-being, and then I asked them why they were so adamant about not using mom's money. They were being evasive and I pushed a little, and it seemed my mother didn't want her money to be used for anything to do with my stepsister. I know, but before I could probe further and ask them if they did cheat on mom, my mom started crying. She was mumbling something and I didn't hear most of it. The things I did hear didn't make sense. My mom was repeatedly saying she didn't love me, and she didn't let me see her, and she would hate me, and she only loved you. And dad was consoling her by saying she loved you. Again and again I removed myself from that situation quickly after my brain did recover from the shock. It was heartbreaking to see her like that, and I feel like I don't trust their narrative of what their relationship was like. It wasn't a clean-cut thing that they have presented. I really don't want to assume that they were cheating. I know they were cheating. It is the logical explanation, but I don't want to believe it, and my mother knew about it, hated it, and cut off my stepmom. Sigh, I am not going to process this. Anyway, I will be paying for my sister's college. Whatever our parents did was not her fault. I am going to pretend nothing happened. Not the idiot. For what it's worth, I am not convinced they cheated on your mom. It sounds to me more like either, hey, your stepmother was your mom's BFF, but your mom shut her out when she was dying. Many people do, and it doesn't necessarily mean lack of love, but it stings, or as a slightly more extreme possibility. Perhaps they were a polytriad and your stepmother loved your mother more than your mother loved her. It sounds to me like the complex grief here is on your stepmother's part, of being loved less, whereas your dad comes across as the relatively simple grief that follows being confident of mutual love. I think there is an untold story here, but I don't think it was cheating. Should he have helped his stepsister out? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for not inviting my mother-in-law to Christmas? My male 31, wife, female 30, and I have one child, 4M, and my wife is 6 months pregnant with our daughter who's due in March. My wife and I have been friends since we were about 5, so I've known her and her parents for more than 25 years now. Her parents were always very approving of us dating, which we started doing in high school. Her parents split up a year after my wife finished high school, and her dad moved out of the picture, so it was just her mom, now female 65, primarily. Her mother was the nicest person in the world until our first child was born 4 years ago. Her issue with it was that our son was born out of wedlock. She was very vocal about her disapproval of this, but my wife seemed to be able to get her to come around. However, she since has been cold, passive-aggressive, and in some cases downright mean to us, and, much worse, our son. I wouldn't even say the family is religious, but it seems to just be a custom that is abided by in that family. My brother and sister-in-law both have partners, but are waiting until marriage to have kids, much to my mother-in-law's delight. The last 4 years, she has blown off numerous events, only hanging out with us if her other kids are busy. She didn't even come to our wedding, which of course caused a massive rift in the family. All of this time, I've been nothing but lenient with her. I've never lost my temper or gotten mad at her, never been vocal or had any resistance to her whatsoever. I've given her hundreds of chances to redeem herself. Last New Year's Eve, we convinced her to babysit our son. We made these concrete arrangements in September and checked in on it multiple times between September and December. As my wife and I were preparing to go out, getting dressed up, etc., she canceled on us, saying she had other plans. My wife and I weren't able to hire a babysitter and so had to stay back with our son, which obviously wasn't the worst thing in the world. In June 2022, we told her we were expecting our second child, and I think you can imagine her reaction. "Oh, this time you actually waited until you were married," etc. She gave us hell, mostly through snarky remarks. But while a bit tipsy a couple of days later, she went so far to call us sex addicts because none of her other kids had kids yet. For all of this year, I've acted like nothing happened, blowing the New Year's Eve and June debacles off. But this Christmas, I've decided to take my revenge, and I told her she won't be invited to our family Christmas, which is saying something, because even my wife's dad, who we rarely make contact with, is coming. Christmas is a big deal in our family. I should also say that we have never been invited to anything hosted by her, although all of her other kids and their partners are, since our son was born, and in the rare case that she does invite our family, it's always just my wife, specifically excluding me, often explicitly. Now, with me not inviting her, my mother-in-law is furious, my wife is furious, most of the family is furious, and now I need to know, am I the idiot? Update. As for my wife and I, she was primarily upset that I had gone over her head on matters regarding her family, and I entirely understand where she's coming from. I've apologized to her, we've talked, and we have made up under the promise that we will work as a team from now on, and I will consult her on anything that involves her, particularly with her own family. As for the elephant in the room, my wife has always recognized her mother as a bit of an us since our son was born, but has constantly operated under the "but she's family" pretense excuse. Now, particularly with the help of these replies, as I explain it to her in a way that revolves more around our children than us, I feel she is beginning to come around to my viewpoint, which is one of wanting to protect our children at all costs, and to cut this harmful figure out of our lives. She does not want to cut her mother entirely out of her life, but has promised to, if it is our wishes, prevent her from seeing our son and I, effectively only keeping contact between my wife and her mother. I told her I felt that would be best, and she told me that in that case, it would only be her talking to her mother. She is also scheduled to go to therapy, counseling to better grasp the situation and understand where she should go next. She tried inviting her mother, but she vehemently refused, so it's just my wife for now. I now feel as though there's a huge weight that's been lifted off of my shoulders, and can finally look forward to the birth of my daughter in March without any connotations or drag downs.